Okay, just go ahead.
All right.
No, welcome the.
Welcome everyone to our second night's reading of Antigone. We'll be finishing up tonight, and Creon, take it away.
Soon shall we know, better than seer can tell. Learning may fix decree anent thy bride. Thou mean'st not, son, to rave against thy sire. Knowest not whate'er we do is done in love.
O Father, I am thine, and I will take thy wisdom as the helm to steer withal. Therefore no wedlock shall by me be held more precious than thy loving governance.
Well spoken. So right-minded sons should feel, in all deferring to a father's will. For 'tis the hope of parents they may rear a brood of sons submissive, keen to avenge their father's wrongs, and count his friends their own. But who begets unprofitable sons, he verily breeds trouble for himself, and for his foes much laughter. Son, be warned, and let no woman fool away thy wits. Ill fares the husband mated with a shrew, and her embraces very soon wax cold. For what can wound so surely to the quick as a false friend? So spew and cast her off, bid her go and find a husband with the dead. For since I caught her openly rebelling, all of my subjects, the one malcontent, I will not prove a traitor to the state. She surely dies. Go, let her, if she will, appeal to Zeus, the god of kindred. For if thus I nurse rebellion in my house, shall I not foster mutiny without? For whoso rules his household worthily will prove in civic matters no less wise. But he who overbears the laws, or thinks to overrule his rulers, such as one I will never allow. Whome'er the state appoints must be obeyed in everything, but small and great, just and unjust alike. I warrant such a one in either case would shine as king or subject. Such a man would in the storm of battle stand his ground, a comrade leal and true. But anarchy, what evils are not wrought by anarchy? She ruins states and overthrows the home. She dissipates and routs the embattled host, while discipline preserves the ordered ranks. Therefore, we must maintain authority and yield to title to a woman's will. Better, if needs be, men should cast us out than hear it said, a woman proved his match.
To me, unless old age have dulled wits, thy words appear both reasonable and wise.
Father, the gods implant in mortal men reason, the choicest gift bestowed by heaven. 'Tis not for me to say thou errest, nor would I arraign thy wisdom if I could. And yet wise thoughts may come to other men, and as thy son it falls to me to mark the acts, the words, the comments of the crowd. The common stand in terror of thy frown, and dare not utter aught that might offend. But I can overhear their muttered plaints, know how the people mourn this maiden doomed, for noblest deeds to die, the worst of deaths. When her own brother slain in battle lay unsepulchred, she suffered not his course to lie for carrion birds and dogs to maul. Should not her name, they cry, be writ in gold? Such the low murmurings that reach my ear. O Father, nothing is by me more prized than thy well-being. For what higher good can children covet than their sires' fair fame? As fathers, too, take pride in glorious sons? Therefore, my father, cling not to one mood, and deem not thou art right, all others wrong. For whoso thinks that wisdom dwells with him, that he alone can speak or think aright, such oracles are empty breath when tried. The wisest man will let himself be swayed by others' wisdom and relax in time. See how the trees beside a stream in flood, save if they yield to force, each spray unharmed. But by resisting perish root and branch. The mariner who keeps his main sheet taut and will not slacken in the gale is like to sail with thwarts reversed, keel uppermost. Relent then and repent thee of thy wrath, for if one young in years may claim some sense, I say 'tis best of all to be endowed with absolute wisdom. But if that's denied, and nature takes not readily that ply, next wise is he who lists to sage advice.
If he says aught in season, heed him, king. Heed thou thy sire too, both have spoken well.
What? Would you have us at our age be schooled, lessoned in prudence by a beardless boy?
I plead for justice, father, nothing more. Weigh me upon my merit, not my years.
Strange merit this to sanction lawlessness.
For evildoers I would urge no plea.
Is not this maid an errant lawbreaker?
The Theban commons with one voice say no.
What? Shall the mob dictate my policy?
'Tis thou, methinks, who speakest like a boy.
Am I to rule for others or myself?
A state for one man is no state at all.
The state is he who rules it, so 'tis held.
As monarch of a desert, thou wouldst shine.
This boy, methinks, maintains the woman's cause.
If thou beest woman, yes, my thoughts for thee.
O reprobate, wouldst wrangle with thy sire?
Because I see thee wrongfully perverse.
And am I wrong if I maintain my rights?
Talk not of rights, thou spurnest the dew of heaven.
O heart correct, a woman's minion thou.
Slave to dishonor, thou wilt never find me.
Thy speech at last was all a plea for her.
And thee and me, and for the gods below.
Living the maid shall never be thy bride.
So she shall die, but one will die with her.
Hast come to such a pass as threaten me?
What threat is this, vain counsels to reprove?
Vain fool, to instruct thy betters, thou shalt rue it.
Were not my father, I had said thou errst.
Play not the spaniel, thou a woman's slave.
When thou dost speak, must no man make reply?
This passes bounds. By heaven, thou shalt not rate and jeer and flout me with impunity. Off with the hateful thing that she may die at once beside her bridegroom in his sight.
Think not that in my sight the maid shall die, or by my side. Never shalt thou again behold my face hereafter. Go consort with friends who like a madman for their inmate.
Thy son has gone, my liege, in angry haste. Fell is the wrath of youth beneath a smart.
Let him go vent his fury like a fiend. These sisters twain he shall not save from death.
Surely thou meanest not to slay them both?
I stand corrected. Only her who touched the body.
And what death is she to die?
She shall be taken to some desert place by man untrod and in a rock-hewn cave, with food no more than to avoid the taint that homicide might bring on all the state. Buried alive, there let her call in aid, the king of death, the one God she reveres, or learn too late a lesson learnt at last. 'Tis labor lost to reverence the dead.
Love, resistless in fight, all yield at a glance of thine eye. Love, who pillowed all night on a maiden's cheek dost lie over the upland holds. Shall mortals not yield to thee?
Mad are thy subjects all, and even the wisest heart straight to folly will fall at a touch of thy poisoned dart. Thou didst kindle the strife, this feud of kinsman with kin, by the eyes of a winsome wife, and the yearning her heart to win. For as her consort still, enthroned with justice above, thou bendest man to thy will, O all invincible love. Lo, I myself am borne aside from justice as I view this bride. O sight, and I in tears to drown. Antigone, so young, so fair, thus hurried down death's bower with the dead to share.
Friends, countrymen, my last farewell I make. My journey's done. One last fond, lingering, longing look I take at the bright sun. For death, who puts to sleep both young and old, hails my young life and beckons me to Acheron's dark fold. An unwed wife. No youths have sung the marriage song for me. My bridal bed no maids have strewn with flowers from the lay. 'Tis death I wed.
But bethink thee, thou art sped, great and glorious, to the dead. Thou the sword's edge hast not tasted, No disease thy frame hath wasted. Freely thou alone shalt go, living to the dead below.
Nay, but the piteous tale I've heard men tell of Tantalus's doomed child, chained upon Syphilis's high rocky fell that clung like ivy wild, drenched by the pelting rain and whirling snow, left there to pine, while on her frozen breast the tears aye flow. Her fate is mine.
She was sprung of gods divine, mortals we of mortal line. Like renown with gods to gain, recompenses all thy pain. Take this solace to thy tomb, hers in life, in death thy doom.
Alack, alack, ye mock me. Is it meet thus to insult me living to my face? Cease, by our country's altars I entreat, ye lordly rulers of a lordly race. O fount of Dirce, wood-embowered plain, where Theban chariots to victory speed, mark ye the cruel laws that have now wrought my bane, the friends who show no pity in my need. Was ever fate like mine? O monstrous doom, within a rock-built prison sepulchred, to fade and wither in a living tomb, an alien midst the living and the dead.
In thy boldness over rash, madly thou thy foot didst dash, 'gainst high justice altar stair, thou a father's guilt dost bear.
At this thou touchest my most poignant pain, my ill-starred father's piteous disgrace, the taint of blood, the hereditary stain that clings to all of Labdacus's famed race. Woe worth the monstrous marriage bed where lay a mother with the son her womb had borne. Therein I was conceived. Woe worth the day, fruit of incestuous cheats, made forlorn. And now I pass, accursed and unwed, to meet them as an alien there below. And thee, O brother, in marriage ill bestayed, 'twas thy dead hand that dealt me this death blow.
Religion has her chains, 'tis true. Let right be paid when rights are due. Yet it is ill to disobey the powers who hold by might the sway. Thou hast withstood authority, a self-willed rebel, thou must die.
Unwept, unwed, unfriended, hence I go. No longer may I see the day's bright eye. Not one friend left to share my bitter woe, and o'er my ashes heave one passing sigh.
If wail and lamentation aught avail to stave off death, I trow they'd never end. Away with her, and having walled her up in a rock-vaulted tomb as I ordained, leave her alone at liberty to die. Or, if she choose, to live in solitude, the tomb her dwelling. We, in either case, are guiltless as concerns this maiden's blood. Only on earth no lodging shall she find.
O grave, O bridal bower, O prison house hewn from the rock, my everlasting home, whither I go to join the mighty host of kinsfolk, Persephassa's guests long dead, the last of all more miserable. I pass, my destined span of years cut short, and yet good hope is mine that I shall find a welcome from my sire, a welcome too from thee, my mother, and my brother dear. For with these hands I laved and decked your limbs in death, and poured libations on your grave. And last, my Polynices, unto thee I paid due rites, and this my recompense. Yet I am justified in wisdom's eyes. For even had it been some child of mine, or husband moldering in death's decay, I had not wrought this deed despite the state. What is this law I call in aid? 'Tis thus I argue. Had it been a husband dead, I might have wed another, and have borne another child to take the dead child's place. But now my sire and my mother both are dead. No second brother can be born for me. Thus, by the law of conscience, I was led to honor thee, dear brother, and was judged by Creon guilty of a heinous crime. And now he drags me like a criminal, a bride unwed, immersed of marriage song and marriage bed, and joys of motherhood. My friends deserted to a living grave. What ordinance of heaven have I transgressed? Hereafter can I look to any God for succor? Call on any man for help? Alas, my piety is impious deemed. Well, if such justice is approved of heaven, I shall be taught by suffering my sin. But if the sin is theirs, oh, may they suffer no worse ills than the wrongs they do to me.
The same ungovernable will drives like a gale the maiden still.
Therefore, my guards who let her stay shall smart full sore for their delay.
Ah, woe is me! This word I hear brings death most near.
I have no comfort. What he saith pretends no other thing than death.
My fatherland, city of Thebes divine, ye gods of Thebes whence sprang my line. Look, puissant lords of Thebes, on me. The last of all your royal house ye see, martyred by men of sin, undone. Such meed my piety hath won.
Like to thee that maiden bright, Danae, in her brass-bound tower, once exchanged the glad sunlight for a cell, her bridal bower. And yet she sprang of royal line, my child like thine, and nursed the seed by her conceived of Zeus descending in a golden shower. Strange are the ways of fate, her power nor wealth, nor arms withstand, nor tower, nor brass-proud ships that breast the sea from fate can flee.
Thus Dryas' child, the rash Edonian king, for words of high disdain, did Bacchus to a rocky dungeon bring, to cool the madness of a fevered brain. His frenzy past, he learned at last 'twas madness, gibes against a god to fling. For once he fain had quenched the Maenads' fire, and of the tuneful nine provoked the ire.
By the iron rocks that guard the double main on Bosporus' lone strand, where stretcheth Salmydis' plain in the wild Thracian land, there on his borders Ares witnessed the vengeance by a jealous stepdame taken, the gore that trickled from a spindle red, the sightless orbits of her stepsons twain.
Wasting away, they mourned their piteous doom, the blasted issue of their mother's womb. But she her lineage could trace to great Erechtheus' race, daughter of Boreas, in her sire's vast caves reared, where the tempest raves. Swift as his horses o'er the hills she sped, a child of gods. Yet she, my child, like thee, by destiny that knows not death nor age, she too was vanquished.
Prince of Thebes, two wayfarers as one, having betwixt us eyes for one, we are here. The blind man cannot move without a guide.
Why tidings, old Tiresias?
I will tell thee, and when thou hearest, thou must heed the seer.
Thus far I ne'er have disobeyed thy rede.
So hast thou steered the ship of state aright.
I know it, and I gladly own my debt.
Bethink thee that thou treadest once again the razor's edge of peril.
What is this? Thy words inspire a dread presentiment.
The divination of my art shall tell, sitting upon thy throne of augury, as is my wont, where every fowl of heaven find harborage. Upon mine ears was born a jargon strange of twitterings, hoots and screams. So I knew that each bird at the other tear with bloody talons, for the whir of wings could signify naught else. Perturbed in soul, I straight essayed the sacrifice by fire on blazing altars, but the god of fire came not in flame. And from the thigh bones dripped and sputtered in the ashes a foul ooze, Gallbladders cracked and spurted up. The fat melted and fell and left the thigh bones bare. Such are the signs taught by this lad, I read. As I guide others, so the boy guides me. The frustrate signs of oracles grown dumb, O king, thy willful temper ails the state. For all our shrines and altars are profaned by what has filled the maw of dogs and crows, the flesh of Oedipus's unburied son. Therefore the angry gods abominate our litanies and our burnt offerings. Therefore, no birds trill out a happy note, gorged with the carnival of human gore. Oh, ponder this, my son. To err is common to all men, but the man who, having erred, hugs not his errors, but repents and seeks the cure, is not a wastrel nor unwise. No fool, the saw goes, like the obstinate fool. Let death disarm thy vengeance. Oh, forbear to vex the dead. What glory wilt thou win by slaying twice the slain? I mean thee well, counsel's most welcome if it promise gain.
Old man, ye all let fly at me your shafts like anchors at a target. Yea, ye set your soothsayer on me. Peddlers are ye all, and I the merchandise ye buy and sell. Go to, and make your profit where ye will. Silver of Sardis change for gold of Ind. Ye will not purchase this man's burial, not through the winged ministers of Zeus, should bear him in their talons to his throne. Not even in awe of prodigies so dire would I permit his burial, for I know no human soiler can assail the gods. This too I know, Tiresias, dire's the fall of craft and cunning when it tries to gloss foul treachery with fair words for filthy gain.
Alas, doth any know and lay to heart?
Is this the prelude to some hackneyed saw?
How far good counsel is the best of goods?
True, as unwisdom is the worst of ills.
Thou art infected with that ill thyself.
I will not bandy insults with thee, seer.
And yet thou sayest my prophecies are frauds.
Prophets are all a money-getting tribe.
And kings are all a lucre-loving race.
Dost know at whom thou glancest, me thy lord?
Lord of the state and savior, thanks to me.
Skilled prophet art thou, but too wrong inclined.
Take heed, thou wilt provoke me to reveal the mystery deep hidden in my breast.
Say on, but see it be not said for gain.
Such thou, methinks, till now hast judged my words.
Be sure thou wilt not traffic on my wits.
Know then for sure the courses of the sun not many times shall run their race before thou shalt have given the fruit of thine own loins in quittance of thy murder, life. For that thou hast entombed a living soul and sent below a denizen of earth, and wronged the nether gods by leaving here a corpse unlaved, unwept, unsepulchred. Herein thou hast no part, nor even the gods in heaven, and thou usurpest a power not thine. For this the avenging spirits of heaven and hell, who dog the steps of sin, are on thy trail. What these have suffered, thou shalt suffer too. And now consider whether bought by gold I prophesy. For yet a little while, and sound of lamentation shall be heard of men and women through thy desolate halls, and all thy neighbor states are leagues to avenge their mangled warriors who have found a grave in the maw of wolf or hound or winged bird that flying homewards taints their city's air. These are the shafts that like a bowman I provoke to anger, loosen at thy breast, unerring, and their smart thou shalt not shun. Boy, lead me home, that he may vent his spleen on younger men and learn to curb his tongue with gentler manners than his present mood.
My liege, that man hath gone foretelling woe. And oh, believe me, since these grizzled locks were like the raven, never have I known the prophet's warning to the state to fail.
I know it too, and it perplexes me. To yield is grievous. but the obstinate soul that fights with fate is smitten grievously.
Son of Benosius, list to good advice.
What should I do? Advise me, I will heed.
Go, free the maiden from her rocky cell, and for the unburied outlaw build a tomb.
Is that your counsel? You would have me yield?
Yea, king, this instant. Vengeance of the gods is swift to overtake the impenitent.
Ah, what a wrench it is to sacrifice my heart's resolve, that fate is ill to fight.
Go, trust not others, do it quick thyself.
I go hot foot. Bestir ye one and all, my henchmen, get ye axes, speed away to yonder eminence. I too will go. For all my resolution this way sways. 'Twas I that bound, I too will set her free. Almost I am persuaded it is best to keep through life the law ordained of old.
Thou by many names adored, child of Zeus, the god of thunder, of a Theban bride the wonder, fair Italia's guardian lord. In the deep embosomed glades of the Eleusinian queen, haunt of revelers, men and maids, Dionysus, thou art seen. Where Ismenus rolls his waters, where the dragon's teeth were sown, where the Bacchanals, thy daughters, round thee roam, there thy home. Thebes, O Bacchus, is thine own.
Thee on the two-crested rock, lurid flaming torches see, where Corycian maidens flock, thee the springs of Castaly, by Nissa's bastion ivy-clad, by shores with clustered vineyards glad, there to thee the hymn rings out, and through our streets we Thebans shout, all hail to thee, Evi, Evi.
O as thou lovest this city best of all, to thee and to thy mother leaven-stricken, in our dire need we call. Thou seest with what a plague our townsfolk sicken. Thy ready help we crave, whether adown Parnassian height descending, or o'er the roaring straits thy swift way wending. Save us, O save.
Brightest of all the orbs that breathe forth light, authentic son of Zeus, immortal king, leader of all the voices of the night, come, and thy train of Thyiads bring with thee, thy maddening rout, who dance before thee all night long, and shout, thy handmaids we, Evi, Evi.
Attend, all ye who dwell beside the halls of Cadmus and Amphion. No man's life, as of one tenor, I would praise or blame. For fortune, with a constant ebb and rise, casts down and raises high and low alike. And none can read a mortal's horoscope. Take Creon. He, methought, if any man was enviable. He had saved this land of Cadmus from our enemies and attained a monarch's powers and ruled the state supreme, while a right noble issue crowned his bliss. Now all is gone and wasted. For a life without life's joys, I count a living death. You tell me he has ample store of wealth, the pomp and circumstance of kings. But if these give no pleasure, all the rest I count the shadow of a shade, nor would I weigh his wealth and power against a dram of joy.
What fresh woes bringst thou to the royal house?
Both dead, and they who live deserve to die.
Who is the slayer? Who the victim? Speak.
Haemon, his blood shed by no stranger's hand.
What mean ye? By his father's or his own?
His own, in anger for his father's crime.
O prophet, what thou spakest comes to pass.
So stands the case. Now 'tis for you to act.
Lo, from the palace gates I see approaching Creon's unhappy wife, Eurydice. Comes she by chance or learning her son's fate?
Ye men of Thebes, I overheard your talk. As I passed out to offer up my prayer to Pallas and was drawing back the bar to open wide the door, upon my ears there broke a wail that told of household woe. Stricken with terror in my handmaid's arms, I fell and fainted. But repeat your tale to one not unacquaint with misery.
Dear mistress, I was there and will relate the perfect truth, omitting not one word. Why should we glaze and flatter to be proved liars hereafter? Truth is ever best. Well, in attendance on my liege, your lord, I crossed the plain to its utmost margin, where the corse of Polynices, gnawed and mottled, was lying yet. We offered first a prayer to Pluto and the goddess of crossways, with contrite hearts, to deprecate their ire. Then laved with lustral waves and mangled quartz, laid on it fresh lapped branches, lit a pyre, and to his memory piled a mighty mound of Mother Earth. Then to the caverned rock, the bridal chamber of the maid and death, we sped, about to enter. But a guard heard from that godless shrine a far shrill wail, and ran back to our Lord to tell the news. But as he nearer drew, a hollow sound of lamentation to the king was borne. He groaned and uttered then this bitter plaint. Am I a prophet? Miserable me. Is this the saddest path I ever trod? 'Tis my son's voice that calls me. On, press on. My henchmen haste with double speed to the tomb, where the rocks down torn have made a gap. Look in and tell me if in truth I recognize the voice of Haemon, or am heaven deceived. So in the bidding of our distraught Lord, we looked, and in the craven's vaulted gloom, I saw the maiden lying strangled there, a noose of linen twined about her neck, and hard beside her, clasping her cold form, her lover lay bewailing his dead bride, death wedded, and his father's cruelty. When the king saw him, with a terrible groan, he moved towards him, crying, "O my son, what hast thou done? What ailed thee? What mischance has reft thee of thy reason? Oh, come forth, my son, thy father supplicates." But the son glared at him with tiger eyes, spat in his face, and then without a word, drew his two-hilted sword and smote, but missed, his father flying backwards. Then the boy, wroth with himself, poor wretch, incontinent, fell on his sword and drove it through his side home. But yet breathing, clasped in his lax arms the maid, her pallid cheek uncarnadined with his expiring gasps. So there lay the two corpses, one in death. His marriage rites are consummated in the halls of death. A witness that of ills, whate'er befall, mortal's unwisdom is the worst of all.
What makest thou of this? The queen has gone without a word importing good or ill.
I marvel too, but entertain good hope. 'Tis that she shrinks in public to lament her son's sad ending, and in privacy would with her maidens mourn a private loss. Trust me, she is discreet and will not err.
I know not, but strained silence, so I deem, is no less ominous than excessive grief.
Well, let us to the house and solve our doubts, whether the tumult of her heart conceals some fell design. It may be thou art right. Unnatural silence signifies no good.
Lo, the king himself appears. Evidence he with him bears 'gainst himself. Ah me, I quake 'gainst a king such charge to make, but all must own the guilt is his and his alone.
Woe for sins of minds perverse, deadly fraught with mortal curse. Behold us slain and slayers all akin. Woe for my counsel dire, conceived in sin. Alas, my son, life scarce begun, thou wast undone. The fault was mine, mine only. Oh, my son.
Too late
Too
thou
late.
seemst to
sorry.
perceive the truth.
Let's see. By sorrow schooled, heavy the hand of God, thorny and rough the paths my feet have trod, humbled my pride, my pleasure turned to pain. Poor mortals, how we labor all in vain.
Sorrows are thine, my Lord, and more to come. One lying at thy feet, another yet more grievous waits thee when thou comest home.
What woe is lacking to my tale of woes?
Thy wife, the mother of thy dead son here, lies stricken by a fresh inflicted blow.
How bottomless the pit doth claim me too, O death? What is this word he saith, this woeful messenger? Say, is it fit to slay anew a man already slain? Is death at work again? Stroke upon stroke, first son, then mother slain?
Look for thyself, she lies for all to view.
Alas, another added woe I see. What more remains to crown my agony? A minute past I clasped a lifeless son, and now another victim death has won. Unhappy mother, most unhappy son.
Beside the altar, on a keen-edged sword she fell, and closed her eyes in night. But erst she mourned for Megarius, who nobly died long since, then for her son. With her last breath, she cursed thee, the slayer of her child.
I shudder with fright. Oh, for a two-edged sword to slay outright a wretch like me, made one with misery.
'Tis true that thou wert charged by the dead queen as author of both deaths, hers and her son's.
In what wise was her self-destruction wrought?
Hearing the loud lament above her son, with her own hand, she stabbed herself to the heart.
I am the guilty cause. I did the deed, thy murderer. Yea, I guilty plead. My henchmen, lead me hence, away, away. A cipher, less than nothing, no delay.
Well said, if in disaster aught is well, ills past endure demand the speediest cure.
Come, fate, a friend at need, come with all speed. Come, my best friend, and speed my end. Away, away, let me not look upon another day.
This for the morrow, to us our present needs, that they whom it concerns must take in hand.
I join your prayer that echoes my desire.
Oh, pray not, prayers are idle. From the doom of fate for mortals refuge is there none.
Away with me, a worthless wretch who slew, unwitting, thee, my son, thy mother too. Whither to turn I know now. Every way leads but astray, and on my head I feel the heavy weight of crushing fate.
Of happiness the chiefest part is a wise heart, and to defraud the gods in aught with perils fraught. Swelling words of high-flown might, mightily the gods do smite. Chastisement for errors past, wisdom brings to age at last.
Well done, everybody. That was some great acting. I wish I had like a little golden Sophocles to hand out tonight. That was great. And also, I just got to say, can we do a special round of applause for Antigone? Deanna, you had me like all choked up. That was amazing. You were so good. It was really good.
That was very good.
I agree.
And we will, on the podcast, be discussing this play. The first episode will be airing next Tuesday for anyone who wants to join us. And, is there anything else I should
That's
mention?
it. Thank y'all so much for another great read along. Well done, everybody.
We enjoyed this very much.
I can't wait to talk about this with y'all on the podcast.
Excellent reading, and have a good night, everyone. God bless you all.